Welcome to the module on models in social group work practice. The learning objectives of this module are to learn about various models of group work practice, to learn about the features of each model, and also to learn about the role of social worker vis-a-vis each model of group work practice. Now we will discuss in detail the models of group work practice. Firstly, we need to know what is a model. A model is a conceptual design to solve a problem that exists in reality. There are three models in group work practice. These are social goal model, which gives priority to provision and prevention of social problems, remedial model, which prefers restoration and rehabilitation of individual with some problems, reciprocal model, which attempts to encompass and reconcile these two. Let us discuss each of the model in detail. Social goal model has its origin in the earliest tradition of professional group work practice. The central problems with which the social goal model attempts to deal are those related to the social order and the social value orientation in small groups. Historically, youth service organizations, settlements and Jewish community centers relied heavily on this model in developing and promoting group work services. The social goal model, although emerging from our past, has not been discarded completely. Interestingly, the model has been reaffirmed as critical strains have developed in the larger society. During the war era, McCarthy era, and now during the period of struggle for integration, the world peace and economic opportunity, this model has been presenting itself for much more use. The model assumes that there is a unity between social action and individual psychological health. Every individual is seen as potentially capable of some form of meaningful participation in the mainstream of society. Thus, the social goal model regards the individual as being in need of opportunity and assistance in revitalizing his drive towards others in a common cause and in converted self-seeking into a social contribution. The therapeutic implications of social participation makes the application of this model available to group work practice with groups of varying illnesses and health. The social goal model primarily envisions group work services at community level and agency as an integral part of the neighborhood. The setting is accessible and flexible in offering institutional auspices for a variety of collective efforts. It responds to the interests of various segments of community and is willing to initiate and recruit for social action. The agency then becomes a vehicle through which members may acquire instrumental skills in social action and institutional support for communal change. The social goal model does not set up priorities for services, but insists that such priorities develop out of the particular needs of the community at a given moment in time. A serious shortcoming of the social goal model is that it has not produced a theoretical design that is adequate to meet the problems facing practitioners in all areas of service. Its underemphasis on individual dynamics and its lack of attention to a wide range of individual needs leaves the practitioner without guidelines for carrying out a social work function with client groups, where individual problems take precedence over the social problems. Now, to sum up kind of this model, we will talk about the features of this model. The function of social goal model at this level is to create a broader base of knowledgeable and skilled citizenry, inculcate a sense of social responsibility among them. Central problem dealt are those related to the social order and social value orientation in the small groups. There is no hierarchy in the social goal model. Here every group is viewed as having capacity to bring in effective social change. The group responds mainly to the local needs or to the local issues. The role of worker within this model or within the framework of this model is basically the worker is viewed as an enabler or an influential person who can fulfill social responsibility. He or she has a function of stimulating and reinforcing modes of appropriate conduct and hence directed towards social change. There is an emphasis on transfer of leadership from the worker to the indigenous members. This model is concerned with democracy and enhancement of personal functioning within the social context, heightened self-esteem and increase in the social power for the members collectively as well as individuals. Shortcomings also are there of this model. The main shortcomings are individual motivation can be hindered by individual needs. If members' needs do not match with group goal, group is likely to disperse. The group should be able to give priority to the community needs, not applicable to people who have some mental illnesses. Now, we come to the second model, that is remedial model. Placed in historical context, the remedial model further facilitated the integration of group work method in the profession of social work. It offered a congenial base for the linkage of social group work method with the method of the social casework. As in casework or working with individuals and families, the remedial model established the treatment of individuals as a central function of group work. Through remedial model, the social group work method offered another means by which the profession could restore or rehabilitate individuals. The problems of adjustment in personal as well as in social relationships that can be treated through the use of group are considered within the specific competence of the social worker within the frame of this model. Image of the client is that of an individual who is suffering from some form of social maladaptation or deficiency. In this sense, the remedial model is clearly a clinical model focused upon helping the malperforming individuals to achieve a more desirable state of social function. The group is viewed as a tool or context for treatment of these individuals. The treatment group primarily envisioned by the remedial model is a formed group wherein the membership is predetermined and diagnostically selected by the worker. Natural or friendship ties are not considered essential unless they meet the therapeutic prescription or where there are no other base of group formation open to the worker. Group composition is considered a significant factor in the potential of the group to serve as an effective treatment vehicle. The worker is viewed as a change agent rather than as an enabler facilitating self-direction of the group. He uses a problem solving approach, sequentially phasing his activities in the tradition of study, diagnosis and treatment. He or she is characteristically directive and assumes a position of clinical preeminence and authority. He exercises his authority through such ways as assigning of the task and role and the screening of activity against his own professional objectives. His authority derives from the mandate given to him by the profession and the agency. While his or her authority must be confirmed by the group, it is not fundamentally established by the group. From this position of authority, his intervention may be designed to do for the client as well as with the client. With regard to the setting, remedial model seems to require a structured institutional context. It assumes clearly defined agency policy in support of treatment goals. When these are not available, it suggests professional efforts to develop them. The remedial model makes less provision for adapting services to the informal lifestyle of the client. It appears to depart from the tradition that the group worker engages with the people where he finds them as they go about the business of daily living. Now, in summing up, the features of this particular model focuses on individual dysfunction and utilizes group as a context and means for altering the deviant behavior, removing adverse conditions of individuals whose behavior is disapproved by society. This model also talks about or deals with the client who are usually differently able persons, offenders, isolated and alienated people. Group is used within this model to treat problems of adjustments in the personal and social relationships. It is considered more as a clinical model that seeks to help the socially maladjusted individuals to improve their social functioning through guided group experience. Now, the role of group worker within this model. Worker within the remedial group work model is a central person. He or she is the object of identification and drives. Worker is a symbol and a spokesperson, tries to maintain norms and values of society. Worker is also as a motivator and acts as a stimulator for the group as a whole as well as individually for the members. Worker is an executive, facilitates the activities of the group in order to gain the said objectives. Now, we move on to the reciprocal model, that is the third and the last model of the group work practice. Reciprocal model advances a helping process that is intended to serve both the individual as well as the society. It proceeds on the assumption that social group work is a special case of general social work method, which is addressed to the human condition, whether it be presented in single or collective context. Whereas, the reciprocal model has been specifically organized by one author, William Skeward's. It reflects the influence of many authors. It opens the way for providing a larger theoretical umbrella to more adequately encompass the whole of social group work method. The reciprocal model presupposes an organic, systemic relationship between individual and the society. The interdependence is described as symbiotic, of basic urgency to both and normally subject to crisis and the stresses. This interdependence is a focus for social work, and the small group is a field in which individual and societal functioning can be nourished and mediated. The range of social work functions can include prevention, provision as well as restoration. Breakdown in the interdependence between systems may occur at any point of the continuum between health and pathology. The most striking concept of the reciprocal model is mutual aid system. Unlike the remedial model, reciprocal model does not begin with a priori prescriptions or desired outcomes. However, it does conceive of an ideal group state, namely a system of mutual aid. Such a system is not dependent upon the specific problem to be resolved by the group, but is a necessary condition for the problem solving. To state it in still another way, the reciprocal model has no therapeutic ends, no political or social change programs to which it is addressed. It is only from the encounter of individuals that compose a reciprocal group system that direction of problem is determined. Emphasis is placed within this model on engagement in the process of interpersonal relationships. It is from this state of involvement that members may call upon each other in their own or common cause. The reciprocal model views the individual primarily in terms of motivation and capacity for reciprocity. The model therefore focuses on the relational aspects of behavior as determined by the present reality of the group system. The image of the worker projected by this model is that of a mediator or enabler to the needs system converging in the group. The worker is viewed as a part of the worker client system, both influencing and being influenced by it. In the terminology of social work, he neither does to the client nor for him, but with the client. The reciprocal model makes no reference to a type of agency or species, but it does assume that whatever the agency, it will engage in the mutual establishment of a contract with the group. Thus, the agency also accepts a place in the reciprocal system with inherent limitations. The authority of the agency is not emphasized in this model. Summing up the chief features of this model, there are people and society both in this model are considered interdependent as they have mutual needs. When there is interference, it results in the conflict. Resolution of the conflict according to this model is possible only when interested parties try to understand their dilemmas with all of these inner resources. Here attention is diverted towards the relationship of the members in the group with each other, with the worker and with the group as a whole. Emphasis is placed on the continuing and reciprocal transactions of members with each other, the worker and the group. Client and the worker together as well as separately challenge the current problems with their total capacity. Basic educative processes are utilized which incorporate particularizing, synthesizing and generalizing the feeling and action components of the problems. Individual and group are significant components in this particular model. Worker role here appears to be more of facilitative, relying on the power and potency of mutual aid system to take care of its own self. Now, we would like to sum up this module. In this module, we have learnt about different models of group work practice. Genesis, relevance and key concepts of each of the model have been discussed here. Chief features of each model have been discussed along with the role of worker as well as the importance of social agency in the entire scheme of things. Thank you very much for attending the session.